Hello and welcome. I'm Beth, your trainer today for how to lead while you and your team work remotely. In the old world of business, which was like just 3 weeks ago, maybe less than a month ago, working remotely was gaining a lot of traction. And what was maybe, hey, one day has now become today. That remote working needs to become a reality for me, for my team, for my business, actually right now. It doesn't really so much matter whether you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, is this going to be a way of things, the way that things are going to be done forever, the things are going to be staying this way. That really doesn't matter so much. The reality is that this is where we are for today. I want to give you an idea about what things are going to be looking like for us as we get together, remote working for managers, for how to lead and lead through stressful and difficult times. The new normal isn't so normal, so we'll take a look at those things today. Objectives for you. And your 30,000-foot view for the time that we have together includes perspective. It is really central that all of us are really aware of how we see the current times. Are we looking at them as an opportunity or as an obstacle? Because our outlook, our tone, our voice, and all of our actions set the climate. And I just want to invite you right now for just a couple of minutes to think about five things that are under your control right here, right now. Just think about them. I'm going to be keeping, ongoing here with all the objectives, but 5 things that are under your control. Adapting and advancing means seeing potential pitfalls and being able to flex, maneuver, but keep moving, all while leading your team and leading yourself, a part of adapting and advancing. And how about getting people to where they need to go? It's essential that you know how to lead yourself first. So what does it look like to put on your own oxygen mask first? We're going to be talking more about the care and the feeding of managers and leaders at this time. And how about leading others, all of those that are looking to you for cues and clues at this time? The word that I want you to really hear in all of this is leading. Your team wants to be led. People, your team wants boundaries, especially in uncertain times. But also, this, and just to hear this, is that they also want a voice. They want autonomy, and they especially want to be valued. We'll be talking about the value and how you can kind of impart that to your crew and to your team at this time. We're going to dig deeper into each one of these realms, beginning with perspective, really to recognize that this is going to take time. It may feel very unproductive and really painful right now, but it's not always going to be staying this way. The goal at this time is not to bow to the need for control or even any element of perfection. So at this time, it means, hey, I'm going to put up with a cat walking across the computer board with, some kid randomly Zoom bombing in the back, or the random baseball cap that might show up, on screens as you settle into things. As you do and as you adjust, you'll be able to set in guidelines and to maybe set some tighter expectations. But right now in the transition, that isn't really the time for it right now. Value. After trying to give people time to find the groove, as a leader, ensure that people feel valued right now. It's really good for them to know that their time and that their risk is really worthwhile. Don't underestimate the value of encouragement. It's a really vital psychological factor. What does this look like? What can you be doing for people? You want to be looking for ways for people to build their self-reliance, to help them become self-efficient and also sufficient. This means not micromanaging. We'll take a look at what that sounds like and looks like. And it's a really natural tendency to try to do at this time. You're also going to be looking for hidden strengths during times of pressure and change like we're going through right now. Good things can get brought to the surface. People are going to be showing different things. Notice them, activate things, call them out, all the good things that your team is showing. This is a great way to build team and also to help shift people into a really good perspective. Also, when you're complimenting, really try to be specific, not just simply saying, hey, that was a really nice job, but something more like, I noticed how many ideas you brought to the morning meeting. It showed me real creativity and some of your energy. And actually, I think that we're going to be using some of those ideas as a team. So, hey, keep them coming. It was a great job. Try to be really specific. And on the whole, big picture, as humans, we're more likely to read and stick to beliefs that are negative. So you're going to be trying to flip this on its head and keep positive comments coming, positive feedback, and also the flow of communication. As a manager or a leader, it's really good to determine what attitudes and beliefs and systems will complicate or facilitate things right now. Again, reviewing attitudes, beliefs, and systems, all of them in some way or another are going to either complicate things or they're going to be facilitating things. This is a really good chance to audit realms, communication, all the apps you're using, maybe the dashboards, the language that you're choosing, your mission statements, and also your values. Audit them, see how they're transferring. Are they working in this remote environment? How are they really shoring up yourself and your team? Ask for input and then keep what works and then keep in mind what doesn't. Again, set the tone with your words, with your outlook, and also with your attitude. I wanted to encourage you with some perspective from other people who have been through this. These are comments coming from leaders all across the world right now when they're having to shift into a remote work environment and have to shift really quickly. So a couple quotes. Number one, you'll get to work with top professionals from all over the world. Everything just expanded now. Opportunities to invite people in where you would have had to pay for their flights or pay for accommodations, an expanded network. Number two, you'll attract employees and partners who might not have considered your company otherwise. Again, global, a little bit bigger, wider view right now, so able to tap into other resources. Number three, you'll start to focus more on results than administrative tasks and meetings. Let me repeat that. You will start to focus more on results than on administrative tasks and meetings. So this is a good time, to really find out how many meetings are really central, how many do you really want to call, or is it a chance to really focus on outcomes? A great time to audit the necessity of meetings. Also, another quote, number four, your employees will be happier, being able to enjoy their work flexibility and still develop themselves professionally. They'll taste some new things, and actually a lot of people that are experiencing remote working are saying, hey, this is something I want to go back to. So some things to keep in mind, some feedback. Adapting and advancing right here. The goal right now is flow, what will keep things moving for your team, for the production that you're doing, and also the communication. Flow is much about seeing what's up ahead and thinking of ways to build bridges or detours. This is anticipation and way to flex quickly. I want to bring up something here that is that will really help keep things moving. One is addressing expectations versus agreements. So expectations are very different than agreements. Expectation sounds like, well, you have this office and you have this title, so therefore you should have this or you should act like this. That is one-sided. Expectations are usually unhealthy, and they can prime the pump for confusion and for blame. Let's flip this around and look at agreements. Agreements sound entirely different than expectations. Agreements sound like, okay, this is what I hear from each of you, and this is how we agree to move forward. Agreements bring all of the issues to the table in plain sight so that everybody can see what's going on. They know the invitations, they know the challenges, they have some give and some take, and also some advice. So this is a big difference between agreements, which everything's out on the table. Expectations are, this is only going to be sitting and brewing in my own head about my expectations of you, but I'm not going to be telling you about them. This is one way to keep things flowing right now. You can also bring things together to say, when you're talking about agreements or expectations, you can decide some things to agree on right now that might be, hey, how do we want these days structured? We want them run exactly how they would run in the office. How about availability? When are we going to be building in breaks? What does that look like? How about response times to emails and to questions? How much time are we really going to be trying to give to that? What deadlines, what timelines need to be adjusted because of working remotely? And then you can think of some other ones that are specific unto your team. But again, a great time to say, hey, these are things that we agree on. This is how we're going to be structuring, rather than just assuming or expecting you're going to roll everything in from a real-time office setting to a virtual. As a manager right now, it's also really essential that you get to know your team in a really different way. You want to notice and you want to ask, what is frustrating right now? What is filling for both you and your team? You need to know before something avoidable becomes a crisis. And you do this just by noticing what's working and what's not, asking yourself what's really frustrating and what's filling, and obviously try to focus on more what's filling. And what might this look like? You might want to have some discussions around possible pitfalls before they actually happen. One to consider might be, how many emails are going to be flying around before somebody picks up a phone, some protocol around that. How about when something gets tossed in the middle of the flow of things and it all gets pulled off course? Who's the point person? Who gets called? Who gets notified? So maybe that's yourself, maybe it's a team member, but another good thing to put into place. And also, like I said in the beginning, you want to know what really refills your team. How many breaks do they need? How much face-to-face time do they need on Zoom? How much independent time do they need to kind of develop their own thoughts when they're going to be contributing? Also, can you notice when a team member is really starting to burn things at both ends? What are some things that you could do to help that? Your availability and the fact that you're noticing is encouraging enough, and it really shows that you know your team, and that's a really good thing at this time. I also want to point out that as a leader, it's a great opportunity to decide, hey, is this a play or a pause? Is it a play or is it a pause? A play means that all of your effort goes into keeping communication and the funnel, whatever that is for you. That could be information, it could be services, it could be products. Everything goes into the flow. Everything goes into your team. You want to build on their strengths and you want to awaken new ones and just keep going. This is play. Play is like trying to keep business as normal as possible and to keep in the flow. Pause is another option as a leader. Yourself and along with other team managers might see this as a time to assess things and take it as an opportunity to make bigger changes once this change, the chaos and some of the upheaval starts to settle down. You might really want to keep things moving in a general direction while still starting to build for a larger change ahead. Again, you're going to be deciding, is this play, trying to keep everything in motion, or is this a pause in motion, but we're going to be planning to build some things differently in the future? Ways to encourage, ways to empower, and also ways to equip your team at this time. Encouragement simply means to speak things that will find their way into the heart. It can be really easy right now to overlook the fact that, on the other side of the screen, on the other end of the phone is a live person. We're not seeing them day in or day out. So this can, start to look a little bit different. We forget about them being humans. Also, I want to point out that there are things that we can learn about what not to do in times like this. There are a few examples I want to share about what are really discouraging for team members, and the power really rests in your tone and your word choice, and also, of course, some self-control that gets to be practiced all the time right now. When you have not touched base with your team in real life that you're probably used to doing, it's really easy not to trust them. You're not seeing them, you're not managing workflow like you usually do. So it might really start flaring up questions that might sound like, hey, did you get to those files that I sent? Have you finished that yet? Did the client reply yet? A lot of these questions scream, I really don't believe in you. And the drilling of these questions on the status, despite the fact that a deadline has been set, can be really wearing and can be really deflating, and wearing for you and also deflating for your team. Here's a chance to trust yourself in the process, trust your team, and just you in general, trusting the process, yourself, and the team. How about empowering and equipping? Also, this falls in line with communication areas. I want to point out that intermittent collaboration is very empowering. Intermittent collaboration. This is something you can look to work in the workday and also throughout the week. Those people with a lot of years of remote work experience say that this, which is intermittent collaboration, is one of the best solutions because it allows people to work independently. I can go off into my own area, work on my assignment, work on my task, and then I can come back and I can get together as a team. I can look for help. I can look for feedback. I can look for being creative and for input. This is strategic. This can be a part of your day and also part of your week. How do I build things intermittently so not everybody is absorbed in too many meetings, not able to get to their work, and they're not being too isolated? A sweet balance, but it can be done. Also, don't forget to employ wise meeting management in this. Just a quick recap that when you are planning meetings within this intermittent collaboration time, that an agenda wants to go out ahead of time. You want to stay on time and you want to stay on task. And also the question is, hey, is a meeting really the best use of collaboration time? Maybe this might be pairs, it might be small group, it might be a big brainstorming session, then back out. So big thing, encouraging, empowering, and equipping, other people at this time, especially your team. The empowerment and equipping, I want to drill down into just a couple quick points here. To realize that small talk still plays big. That small talk still plays big right now, that meaning that your team, and a lot of them, maybe not all of them, are going to miss out on the cubicle, the coffee room breaks, the hallway chit chat. That's the way that they're connect. That's the way that sometimes we even solve problems and we just feel like we've been heard or that we've been seen throughout the day. So some ways around this would be to build in virtual coffee breaks or something like that. Maybe one-on-one meetings to drill into agenda items that might need some more attention. You might also invite somebody or a group of people to participate and say something funny or a unique story at the beginning of a meeting. And then also ways to wrap things up at the end. A clear takeaway, a word of encouragement, and a little bit of humor. So looking for ways to build humanity and a little bit of levity into your days. I want to point out that there is a central complaint from a lot of remote workers at this time, and that is, I simply don't have the right tools. So as a leader, you want to make sure that your team has the right apps, the software, the latest version, whatever that might be. And while it might be really easy for you to open up your chat feature, to find the mute button on Zoom, to mute yourself or everybody, or not know how to do those breakout rooms, it may be really complicated for other people where this is a new realm and they're not familiar with all of that. It doesn't mean that you will have to be checking in, making sure that they have all of the gear, that they have been trained or will be trained. It is an opportunity also to invite other team members in that can share their expertise, and you build your team that way too. So again, getting that question off the table or that issue off the table, meaning I'm just not equipped. That's definitely something that that you're going to want to take care of so that people are encouraged. And it doesn't work so well to do all of this if we're not leading ourselves as leaders. So I want to point out that it's really important about how your day goes. It begins by how you begin your day. And to remember that your team will read you a lot right now. Modeling flows from the top. So what do you want to see? And then be that. Again, modeling flows from the top. A couple thoughts on organization to help you would be, know when you work your best. Realize right now, if you're remote working, again, do you work better to do little tiny tasks in the morning and to build up and gain momentum? Or are you the eat the frog first type of person, which means, hey, I'm going after the big thing and I'm going to eat that, devour it, get it off my desk so I can move on and find some other traction throughout my day. So know yourself. Also, getting dressed. Get dressed. An hour of sitting around in slippers or a bathrobe can become a really slippery slope. Started off well. Somebody I talked to even said, hey, wear shoes. Shoes were a big game changer for some people. Also, don't schedule conferences back to back. Chances are you're going to be forgetting who you're talking to, and that usually doesn't end well for anybody. Also, knowing how to be fluid. Your task number 1 today may quickly become 1A or 1B. Also, for very obvious reasons, don't set up your remote office space in the kitchen. And set aside time to check email and also budget social media. If I'm going to be watching news, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, whatever it is, or decompressing via Pinterest, then I want to budget that time. Using equipment, I want to point this out that for yourself, make sure that you've got a good chair, that you've invested in a 4K screen, and a good keyboard so that your wrists and your hands and your fingers will thank you later. Wireless keyboards, mouse, and a touchscreen can also be your friends. So can a stand-up desk. Another idea is you can connect your computer to a bigger screen TV. This is great for conferencing. And I also hear that YouTube and a lot of other things are a lot nicer at 65 inches compared to the 12 or 14 you might be used to working on. Backup, backup, backup over and over again, especially if you're using different computers in different locations throughout the day. Noise canceling, sound blocking headphones, brilliant, especially when your own kids, the neighbor's dog, something else tunes up, you're going to want to block any distractions. Another thing about distractions is go ahead and use your apps in full screen. That way you're not tempted to be ping-ponging back and forth. And also make sure that you have the latest version of everything. And if that is sufficient, I know some people are upgrading different versions on Zoom just because the basic isn't enough. So test drive the basic and you may have to upgrade. I want to bring in mental health and physical health and kind of wrap them in together here. Nothing is so important as self-talk right now so that you know what it sounds like in your head. And make your mind a friend, not an enemy, and you're going to want to know the difference. However you speak to yourself can absolutely spill over into the language you use with your team. How you talk to yourself can also be how you're going to be talking to your team. Scheduling breaks for yourself, know yourself, screen breaks, walking breaks, outside breaks, special apps for this like Insight Timer, that kind of thing. Set them and use them so you remember, so that you're not going to bed with headaches and neck pain and strain from just hovering and sticking around too tightly. Also, a quick invitation is know what fills you, track your day. Go ahead when you're at home, fill out a log. These are my blocks of the day. This is what they look like. Note what fills you up and what depletes you. Use a plus sign, a minus sign, and a neutral. This fills me up. This depletes. This is just what it is. It's neutral. Pay attention to what fills and what depletes you. Setting boundaries, big thing. However you can do that, having talks with your family, signs on the door, office hours, just to say for yourself, this is my time, this is set aside. Able to get to the gym, where your gym might be your basement right now, it might be your garage. Build in that time to get out there and do something, whatever that might look like for you right now, especially wherever it is. And also sunshine and sleep in a perfect world would be no electronics in your bedroom or anywhere near it. A lot of frequencies, they clash, they collide, interferes with sleep. And also water. No food at your desk, but water as long as you don't spill it. Some tips on the mental health. Another thing is an emotion that can really get tied up in some of these things is guilt. And a boundary is setting the end of your office hours. So that is avoiding the voice that says just another hour, just another phone call, just another. Taking breaks and shutting down at home can be a lot harder than just closing the door and walking out of an office. So begin and end your day on time and budget the in-between time wisely and skip the guilt. Do the best that you can and wrap up when you're supposed to. Good ways to lead yourself, because if you're leading yourself well, then guess what? Then you get to lead others just as well. Modeling is really central in this, because you're going to be building habits for yourself and also modeling what they might look like for your team. So everything that we just talked about that applied to you is also going to apply for your team. They need to be doing the same things in the same arenas. So share your wisdom, have your team members share their wisdom as well. As a leader at this time, great idea to keep hiring, retaining, and promoting in mind. Know what you need and where. Take a look at remote job websites if you want to do that even in a couple of minutes of downtime. Notice what they are posting. Most of the ads are for senior positions. And why is that? Well, they are believed to have more authority and more accountability for their work. So you are looking to hire team members, hold on to them, or even promote them, the people who showcase these skills that include the ability to collaborate, be empathetic, to be creative, to be adaptable, and also to be resourceful. This is a great time to start to pay attention to what sort of traits are in your people, to call them out, name them, promote them in ways or encourage them. Communication in leading with other people. I want to spend a couple of minutes here. It is central, especially right now. Communication is the central reason why climates break down, why work environments break down, why production lines break down. During times of upheaval, the weak links are often exposed even more. So this is a chance to take it as feedback, not failure, and address it. Weak links will become more obvious at this time. Again, a reminder to set your tone with your words and your voice, because the climate you bring with you will also be the one that will be carried into meetings and onto phone calls. What are you bringing with you? Is it optimism? Is it sarcasm? Is it fear, dread, clarity? The choice is entirely yours. You're a climate changer and you're a climate setter at this time. Also, stick to the facts of the situation, especially when there's uncertainty. The tendency is to try to, information becomes a value, it becomes a currency right now, so you want to really handle it wisely. If you have a real high level of trust and you can include some optimism and maybe some empathy in your words, it's a great chance to do that right now. But I want to note that if organizational trust is low right now, simply keep to the facts and to cite the sources. It's a good time to not talk about a future that you are totally unsure of. Be honest with the information you do have and repeat it. Don't repeat things that you are unsure of. Also, your availability is a huge currency right now, especially during change, transition, and times of uncertainty, which we're all living through at this moment. Try video conferencing, office hours, open office hours via Zoom or something like that. You can invite people to drop in. This is when I'm going to be here. Give them some room right now to navigate this. And maybe after 1 or 2 weeks of considering this or doing this, you can give a chance to say, hey, now I want to kind of tighten about how I'm going to be doing this, how long, and what topics we're going to be talking about. You feel it out, but a lot of times people might need just a little bit of space to process, and open hours and your availability could be really an asset at this time. And know yourself, your team, know your audience, your market, your product, and your service. It's a great opportunity to get to know these even better. A question you may want to be asking yourself at this time is, how can remote working really give us an advantage? How can this help my team work better? This is a long-term question. How can remote working give us an advantage? But it has real-time answers if you and your team are awake to it. So an opportunity to ask those questions. There's always more to the story. Always more to the story when you're dealing with yourself, when you're dealing with change, and when you're dealing with people. Note that you are human, and so is your team. And that at this time, anything that I have said, it's try and fit. One size does not fit all. It's just to take away the core ideas today and to hold on to them with a loose grip. Offering works better than forcing. Offering works better than forcing, and that's what you're doing. You're offering, you're getting feedback and adapting and advancing. And part of leading means that you may not know exactly what direction you're going in all of the time, and that is okay. You're leading, but you might not know exactly where you're going. So humility and honesty build bridges. Humility and honesty build bridges. And at this time, building those bridges will help your team navigate detours, reroutes, and also any surprises in the roadway ahead. Also, something to keep in mind is, we talked about a little bit earlier, is that at the end of every phone call, behind every single screen, every chat box is a person just like yourself. And in the end, all of us really want the same most basic things. And that would be to be valued as a person, to offer something that matters, and to be a part of something bigger. All of us as human beings have these needs, these core longings. And again, they're to be valued as a person, to offer something that matters, and to be a part of something that is bigger. Remember those things, and also remember 5 things that we talked about back in the beginning, 5 things that you have control over right now, right here, and a chance to exercise that control. Those 5 things, either complete them, go back to them, but keep adding to them. But start with 5 central things. It'll be a place of encouragement, empowerment, and also equipping yourself. A reminder that Life Matters is available to you. We're here for you and your dependents 24/7. Phone numbers and information, website up on the screen, as well as our availability, of course. And I want to thank you for your time today and joining us for this training, and treat yourself well.